during first term of Trump presidency, there was a comedian, is still a comedian, but there was a joke made that Trump in power is like a horse in a hospital. And now, listening to the list of what you're describing, that is all true, for including the less safe air travel, the less safety people feel about this, certainly feel less safety about air travel, and stock market, and allies, and on and on and on. I feel like horse in a hospital would be an improvement. Why? Because Elon Musk is special, of course. He wants to highlight that he's special. And
very special.
Very special.
Very unusual, yes.
He's precious. I would like to begin, Irina, by saying, first of all, and convey my deep sorrow, if not really outward shame, for the fact that my president, my government, my country is acting in this unacceptable way. And there's tens of millions of people in this country that feel just really, really terrible right now because of what's happening to Ukraine, and not for some kind of a selfish reason, but because it's just not the conscionable thing to do right now, what's happening, and it's not right. But the problem is that people on the other side, they don't see things in terms of right and wrong, and that's a big problem. I think that we're going to see a speech that is important historically, because State of the Union speeches are always important. That's just how they are. And in this case, this is going to be groundbreaking in any number of ways. It's kind of like expecting a testing of a nuclear device, except it's probably not a test. It's a State of the Union speech. And remember last year, that was Biden's shining moment. Because at that moment, he really gave that fiery speech that really told everyone that there is no reason for anybody to run against Joe Biden, because he got this nomination wrapped up, he got this presidency wrapped up, and here we are living in a second cadence, second term of President Biden. No, it's kind of funny how things tend to work out sometimes. Now we have a president who didn't just run against Biden because Democrats and Republicans, but because apparently he was running against Biden because Biden is for democracy and Trump is for Putin. And I think there was a certain problem because American voters did not quite understand the difference. They thought that those that voted for Trump, I think judging by Russia's and Putin's popularity, which are dismally small, that is not what Trump was running on as far as his base was concerned. They were expecting to get rid of gender norms that they felt to be oppressive, and they wanted to lower prices on groceries, and they wanted life to continue as it was because Biden made it pretty darn good, his administration. And instead we got a total reversal, to the point that now more and more Americans, and those that consider themselves to be sensible people, think that maybe there's a kind of a strong connection between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. It just really, all signs point in that one direction. It's amazing to me to see how people are coming to this realization. Moreover, I feel like it may be even a possible solution to the cult of personality that has developed around Donald Trump, that kind of just excuses everything he does. It's incredible. I think people in the future are going to look at this situation and just try to understand how people could follow Donald Trump, and it's a powerful effect. At some point, what happens is people start to wonder, based on a variety of clues, that perhaps Donald Trump works with Vladimir Putin. And that seems to be a very helpful bridge to get people out of that cult of personality. So I think for those people that are stuck with somebody who feels, that they're in a cult of Trump, then I think speaking to them about the connection between Trump and Putin is direct and powerful, because Russia is not popular and Putin is not popular. And so I think that is a very important opening there for people. Should we be able to really, should it not be too late to exploit that important distinction? Because we spoke about the fact that Donald Trump had strong connections with Russia after the first time he won his presidency. We talked about it, then there were other problems, and we kind of forgot about it. But the reality is that the agenda of the Trump presidency matches Putin's checklist and wish list, like literally, specifically point for point, destroying NATO, destroying European Union, destroying the West, really, because these trade wars that we're getting ourselves into are going to destroy Western democracies, because now we have to respond. Canada, Mexico are going to be responding to all of this. This is a war that is breaking out, but so far nobody is literally dying, but we'll see, because those things will have its effect on, there will be people who will pass away because of this too, but that's not the point. The point is we're in just that this is Putin's wet dream. And I think that this understanding really scares people when they think about what Trump will offer next. Because he already, I had this feeling like on January 20th, we were going to have kind of a clock strikes midnight and Cinderella's ball at the Princess Palace is over, and all the planes that are flying to Ukraine are going to fly back, because that's who Donald Trump is. That's what his priorities have always been. That's what he advertised, not a penny for Ukraine. But no, he waited for the right moment, for the right situation, and we saw what happened at the White House. And I think this is where people divided. It's amazing to me how people divided along party lines of who they blame, whether they blame Trump or Zelensky for what happened at the White House. Whatever. I think that in the end, you have to remember the takeaway from that meeting is how Trump was speaking about how difficult Russiagate was for Putin and how Trump helped Putin get through this. They got through this together. He made sure to highlight that. I think that is the key takeaway. So what plans is he going to offer? Donald Trump wants to bring factories back. He wants to make America great again like it was in the 19th century. Nobody seems to remember that time period. But I think it's important to acknowledge that women and minorities are playing a key role in 21st century America that they did not play in the 19th century America. And that's going to be the big challenge and the big hope for us going forward, is that women and minorities, which have gained a lot of rights since middle of and late 19th century, are going to help our society to move forward after this, let's consider temporary madness, passes.
Yuri, listening to you, I remembered that few days ago, Chris Murphy, a senator from Connecticut, a Democrat known for his active stance on healthcare, gun control, and international relations, noted on his post on X that food and gas prices are rising, bird flu is spreading, all our allies hate us, air travel is becoming dangerous, the stock market is collapsing, the government is about to shut down, and he's only been president for 6 weeks. This is just the beginning. So because of Donald Trump, not only we, you too, feel ourselves and yourself like not in fairy tale, but like in horror, correct?
Correct. I think that when it was, during first term of Trump presidency, there was a comedian, is still a comedian, but there was a joke made that Trump in power is like a horse in a hospital. And now, listening to the list of what you're describing, that is all true, for including the less safe air travel, the less safety people feel about this, certainly feel less safety about air travel, and stock market, and allies, and on and on and on. I feel like horse in a hospital would be an improvement. I feel very much concerned about the situation, and I feel that when at the same time we are picking on people that are defending democracy, like Zelensky, and say that he's not wearing the right suit to appear in the White House, and at the same time we have somebody like Elon Musk, who certainly does not look to show much respect for the office of presidency, whether in his suit or with there's other people who have children in that room, but they don't never bring their kids to work. Why? Because Elon Musk is special. Of course, he wants to highlight that he's special. And
very special.
Very special.
Very unusual, yes.
He's precious. He's precious. But it's just not acceptable. And I think that my humble way of showing just support, I wear plenty of suits, I wear plenty of ties, and I feel great about that. But you know what? You got to have a sense of decency. And if you don't have a sense of decency, then I'm just going to have to show a picture and see if that gets a message across. I think there's only so much bad policy that can take place before reasonable suspicion is that perhaps it's just part of a different policy agenda. That perhaps the approach is not to help Ukraine at all. Perhaps. And I think that whether we're discussing whether Zelensky fractured a fragile ego of the American president, and that was a big mistake on his part, or whether he revealed to the world that which had to be seen and he made it obvious, like the little boy who cried, the king is naked, the emperor has no clothes. That's a little bit of what we experienced. And if the boy goes back to the emperor to apologize, I think it should be done with the understanding that both king is, the emperor is still naked and he's angry. And so I think that at least going there and approaching new relations with continuing relations with Donald Trump from the point of view of maybe we can persuade him is just seems like a false approach to take. However, if this is done with the understanding that Ukraine is in a desperate situation and president of a country in a desperate situation has to do desperate things and desperate times call for desperate measures. I don't know how many times I said we're desperate now, but it's what it is. So it would be understandable if it will be understandable to a lot of people. It will break a lot of hearts. But if Zelensky has to apologize, to resume to beg Trump for help so that Ukraine gets help, I think a lot of people will understand and will not fault him for it. The problem is that it reveals also, well, not reveals, it's another time where we see how Donald Trump operates. It's very similar to KGB in a sense that it's not by producing things, but by destroying things. And he lords power by, he hasn't provided new ammunition. He is really just using the stuff that Joe Biden was trying to give, but hasn't left country yet, essentially, to now hold that hostage. Last time he did that with Ukraine, it led to his first impeachment, because that's what he did with those javelins, where he said, we'll give it to you, but you got to do us a favor to Zelensky and find us some dirt on Joe and Hunter Biden. And then, listen to Donald Trump because he lists off those names like a Rolodex. So whatever. So I think that if Zelensky takes the approach of that he has to do things for his country, then that's one approach. But at least with the understanding that this is goodbye. This is a process of divorce between Trump administration and Zelensky, because Zelensky is a big problem for Trump. No, not really. I think Trump could change his opinion about Zelensky very easily, very quickly. But I think that Putin is the one who has a problem with Zelensky. And that's just not for Trump to fix. Trump here kind of says, like, this is not me. This is between you and Volodya over there. So if he doesn't like you, you should just take it up with him. You should have agreed with him long time ago. You're in a bad situation. You have no cards. It's embarrassing a little bit, a lot. As an American, as a public speaking instructor, to watch somebody do this kind of, really bad public speaking job. And on the other hand, very revealing. But what are you going to do? Other than move forward? I think this is the key here. I think the key is to not worry about mending relations with Trump, because Trump will not like Zelensky as long as Putin doesn't like Zelensky. And it's a key to just move on with Europe, move on with your own production as far as Ukraine. It's the time to look for allies around the world. I'm sure Ukraine has always been doing this, but it's just more time to put more emphasis on those relationships. South Korea, Canada, United States is now going to be pissing off everybody. So that's going to just create another circle of friends. Because if United States is going to be with Russia and North Korea and China, then perhaps South Korea and Canada and Taiwan can be with Ukraine and Europe. So I think that there's some really exciting things that are happening in front of us, and it's only going to highlight how irrelevant some of those agreements have become, because those big agreements have been signed by lots of countries and been maintained for decades, don't seem to reflect the reality on the ground. Because when you have Hungary that can put brakes on things, or Trump, or United States, he could probably invite Russia to join NATO. It's just like old alliances might not work. And we're in an amazing time that is also being accompanied by the list of catastrophes that you've listed earlier, including, from economy, and let's not forget that there's also a measles outbreak in Texas.